And they're starting to see that they just steal the data and don't encrypt it, your systems. And, oh, that's awesome. Now it's just a ransom attack, not a ransomware.
Help me with hip-hop. Let's get it right. Protect your patience. Day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with hip-hop. Let's get it right.
So, Donna, you ever seen one of those movies where, like, the high school kid gets the note slapped on his back or taped on there? It says, "Kick me"?
Yeah, you were probably the one sticking it on the back, weren't you?
I don't know, man. I think I was the one that got the note.
Yeah, probably when you were younger, you were that guy.
Yeah, I definitely was that guy. So in a lot of ways, though, that's kind of what healthcare has kind of become here lately. It's like, you know, the kid with the note on the back and, you know, everybody's kicking it.
Yep, and the criminals know it, and they're lining up to see who can kick the hardest and the quickest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Kick me.
But we're going to cover something in just a minute that kind of talks about that. It's a, you know, medical monitoring device that has been spotted stealing patient data, as if we needed something else to worry about. And then we'll get into
the device isn't doing it, but the vulnerability is allowing the criminals who are kicking us to do it.
That's right. And then we'll dive into a report by Black Kite. You have to slow down when you say that. Black
yeah, you do.
So we'll get into that. It talks about healthcare and ransomware, the landscape of what that looks like today, because, you know, even though it's not going away, it does often change. And so we want to see what that looks like now. But before we get into that, we do want to talk a little bit about the PriceSec Bootcamp. Time is running out to get your tickets for the May 13th through 16th event. It'll be 4 full days of privacy and security. What else could you possibly want for a Valentine's Day gift?
Yeah, it's great. It'll be awesome. That's what we always tell everybody. You know, if you're ready to just rip off the Band-Aid, and we have folks that come multiple years for a reason. It's a lot of information, and we spread it out and really do deep dives on stuff. So imagine like all day of deep dive episodes of Help Me with HIPAA.
Yeah. That's about it.
And if you don't think you need it, but you're in charge of managing privacy and security under HIPAA, give us a call. We might want to have a chat with you.
That's right.
Yeah. Find a way. Anyway.
That's true. All right. So let's first of all, if you are interested in going there, it's pricesecbootcamp.com, or you can go over to helpmewithhipaa.com. It's linked there. You can also go to thehippabootcamp.com, and it's there. It's everywhere
that you want to be.
Yeah, that's right. There is limited seating, limited number of tickets. So, and I think we have a special going on right now. Don't we have like an early bird thing?
Yeah, right now it's an early bird. So the price, which is super affordable, and it includes your breakfast and lunch and snacks and stuff, because we don't want you going anywhere.
Yeah. Plus, you
You're
get a
not
whole bunch
allowed
of
to run away.
That's true. Yeah.
So the early bird is through. We do it for a month out. So, but because last year we had to close it, and we weren't able to take everybody that wanted to come. Mm-hmm. So, hopefully, by the time you get there, we will not have closed it, because we do keep a very limited number of seats so that we can give you the attention and make sure that you are learning. We're not just talking at you, we're talking with you. So go check it out, pricesecbootcamp.com, and that's privacy and security mashed together, pricesecbootcamp.com.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, what is it? Brangelina?
That's it.
All right, let's dive into our first one here. So this one is about the medical monitoring machine and what's going on there. So let's take a look at it.
Yeah, that one just came out, and we have had more than one conversation about why are medical devices one of the top 5 threats on hiccup. This is why, right here. This is it, people. The whole reason is because we know those things can be vulnerable, and this was published saying unplug them, disconnect them from Wi-Fi immediately, because they have backdoors in them and they can launch things and potentially do a lot of damage, including gathering all of the data about a patient as they're being monitored, which is definitely not something that you want to have happen if you're worried about making sure that patient is cared for and nobody else is making decisions based on their information. Anyway, so check that out. The device is called, and I don't use these things, so I don't know that it means anything to people who don't, but it's a Contec, Contec CMS 8000, also sold as a Epsimed MN120, and there are 3 different vulnerabilities that are causing it big problems. So, got a backdoor in it, and the FDA recommends anybody with one unplug it from the internet and disable its Wi-Fi. So, stop using it.
Yeah.
Anyway, by the time you get this, you should have already done that by the time you hear this. But this is exactly why you should be watching for these things. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a high likelihood that IT may not be monitoring these things. So don't think for a second that, IT's got this handled.
Yeah, there's a minute chance that they may be aware of it. This is not usually, unless you're sure that that's on their radar. So you might want to go be sure.
Yeah. Don't assume. Don't assume.
We know about assume.
Yeah. Take it to your IT provider or IT staff and say, what about this?
Anybody paying attention for this kind of stuff? There it is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's dive into this cool report here from Black Kite.
Yeah. I saw it mentioned on I think it was Becker's, but it has some really good headlines. They took their 2024 ransomware study report. They do one every year, and then they added more data at the end of the year that was looking specifically at healthcare. And there were 6 big things that they had on their, big opening, and healthcare ranks number 3. The healthcare incidence rose from 5% to 8% of all ransomware attacks, while overall attacks on healthcare organizations surged by 32%. And this is just in 2024.
Wow.
And it's the affiliates now, they just go and pick and choose because they have so many different ransomware groups to choose from. And then small practices are prime targets, less protected and resource constrained, and the criminals know it. Wow. I think we've said that before, David.
Yeah. This is let's put a bookmark right here, because a lot of small practices complain about can't afford it. It's got to be free or whatever, fill in the blank. I get it, but the criminals don't care.
Yeah.
They're not going to avoid you because you're understaffed or under-resourced. You've got to do something. So,
yeah. And it's I'm too small to be a problem. That's also not, that's not going to work either.
No.
And they see you the same. They see you as a gateway to other things, and your data still matters. So you got 10 employees, you got 10,000. They don't care. They don't care. And one of the things is this report was really evaluating is how many are the hit that are getting reported now, and we know we're not hearing all of them.
Oh, no.
And so the big hospital networks, everybody assumes that's who they're after, but that's not the case. Mm-hmm. And in this really cool report, which of course there'll be a link on the website in the show notes, but they have this chart, and this is what, immediately I'm like, small practices, let me see more data. I need input. Mm-hmm. And they did what they called a sub-industry, breaking down the attacks on the known attacks. And it was very interesting to see, 22% of the attacks that they were tracking, general medical and surgical hospitals. Awesome. Everybody's expecting that. Not expecting offices of physicians to be 25%. And other health practitioners, which I'm not sure how they did these classifications, but 12% there.
Yeah.
So, and don't forget, 6% dentists. We'll just let that be. I was surprised to see that it was 3% more than hospitals of the attacks that they were looking into and able to do a study on. Mm-hmm. That's different. That's big. And so they went into a lot of discussions, and we've talked about this, but I don't think that we've really talked specifically. The great news was that we got to talk a few times over the last couple of years where they were able to shut down some of these gangs. And we talked about the gangs have their own business continuity disaster recovery plans, and they shut it down and they go on. Like the ones that hit Change Healthcare. Well, the affiliate, we don't know whatever happened to that poor person or company, but these huge ransomware gangs, they shut down a couple of big ones. And guess what happened? Did that mean that all the other people said, wow, I'm not going to do ransomware?
No.
No. A vacuum occurred, and when that happens, it's a wait and see. And instead of these big gangs, now there's a ton of smaller ones who are offering all kinds of deals for, they call them the affiliates. And they're complicated organizational. These things, they're billions of dollars are every year. These folks are making billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. They're not going to ignore that opportunity. And a lot of new ones have shown up. And I know we joke about it often that they're honest criminals. And they always tell us, well, you can trust us. If you pay us, we won't, get rid of your data. You can trust us that, we will definitely decrypt you properly. You could try, no, you're still a criminal. Hello. But many cases, until the last couple of years, if you hit a healthcare facility, they would say, nay, you're not allowed. You hit one of those, we kick you out. You don't get to play on our island anymore. Mm-hmm. So they kick you off the island if you don't follow their rules, which is great. And attacking healthcare was one of those boundaries you didn't cross. Mm-hmm. And that was just a rule. Well, these new folks, they don't care. And in fact, they're more aggressive. They are less scrupulous. He's scrupulous, David. They're not negotiating. It's, there's no negotiations for a lower amount. Pay us this, buy now, or, we're releasing your data. And trust us, we're not really going to sell it on the back end. But you know what they are going to do is they're going to tell another criminal gang, guess what? We got X out of this. This was their IP address. Go have fun. Mm-hmm. They do that, sell them to each other. And these folks aren't messing around. And they're starting to see that they just steal the data and don't encrypt it, your systems. And, oh, that's awesome. Now it's just a ransom attack, not a ransomware. But when you look at the growth, I mean, they were tracking, and this was another of their charts and on the show notes. You can see them on the website. But the most targeted industry rankings, and they started, this chart starts at Q1 2023, and healthcare is at number 7, number 6, number 7. So that's going throughout. And then all of a sudden, in Q4 2023, boom, up to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like at the beginning of 1, it was going to hop up to even 2. And it's professional and technical services are right above it, and then manufacturing above it. But you're looking at a substantial jump in a short amount of time from Q3 2023 to Q4 20, and it has stayed there throughout all of 2024. And that's just insane. So they figured it out. They know. And I know we've talked about it a lot, but I think a lot of the problem where they're seeing it is those smaller organizations of, oh, we're good, we're good, nothing's happening. Mm-hmm. And they don't want us, they want the hospitals. And we're so small, we don't really have anything they want, and on and on and on.
Yeah. Or we understand this and we don't have to have those things.
Yeah. Yeah. You're wrong about that. You're wrong. You're just trying to sell me stuff.
Yeah.
If I could give it to you for free, I would.
Mm-hmm.
But, I do like a few nice things.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if you did give it to them for free, because we have all kind of resources that are free, and they don't even use that.
That's fair. That's a good point. I mean, what we're doing right now is free.
Exactly. So that's not even an argument that you're looking for free resources. There's so many organizations out there pushing to do free resources, and yet we still don't have wide adoption of even that.
Yeah.
So you don't want to pay for it, but you don't want it free. I'm out of options.
Yeah. Yeah. You want it done for you for free. That's what you want.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So, but you don't understand the value of what you have.
Yeah.
And that you live in a dangerous neighborhood. It's literally like leaving your front door unlocked. And living in a dangerous neighborhood where, well, don't worry, we're so small. Our house is so small, they're not going to break in. Yeah, they break into a tiny home, I am sure, if it looks easy. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason that you secure things, even small things. Mm-hmm. And it's not one of those things that, they're only going to steal from big houses and richer people, and often they're harder targets. They go for the easy targets. And we've said it over and over and over. You just want to be better than the other guy.
Yeah. You just want to run faster than the other person the bear's chasing.
That's right. But I think that this is a huge problem. It's not going to happen to me is a huge problem. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how we can do anything more than what we're already doing.
You talking about we as in the industry?
Well, as a whole, I mean, it's constant discussions of the under-resourced and what can we do to help the under-resourced. But you're right, they won't even use the things that we're giving them today.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a matter of do they have the right resources at their disposal. And I'm not talking money. I'm talking education, information, that type of thing. It's out there. We've spent years putting out content, not just here on the podcast, but even within 405D and other areas where we put out tons of content to help. So it's not that. It's that what people just don't look at it and go, this needs to be a priority. This is important. We have to do this.
Yeah, you're
And
right. It's
I'll tell
not
you when
prioritizing it.
I'll tell you when they do prioritize it, after the fact,
Yeah.
after something happens. Now they've got the money. Wait a minute. You didn't have the money yesterday before the ransomware attack. How do you have it today? You didn't have the time to do compliance and privacy and security before the attack, but now you can today. So it's not again, nothing happened except for the fact that they became the victim of an attack, and all of a sudden priorities change. So that's all it boils down to.
You're right. It's priorities. And we've tried to get the priorities to change, and they're not gonna. I mean, there's a lot of things that battle for priority. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just having a conversation last week with a group of, it was small providers, and it was how do we motivate them? It was a group of people trying to figure out how to motivate the small providers. Mm-hmm. And the conversation was, well, they'll just, let it ride and risk it and hope all they get's a slap on the wrist, for failing to comply. And I'm like, you need to stop making this about compliance.
Mm-hmm. I agree, 100%.
That is the least of your worries. And we've been preaching that for years.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to be what you want to worry about, and your immediate concerns should be having a functional business. Imagine taking away your technology for 2 weeks. If you can operate and make money with no technology for 2 weeks, then stop worrying about security. Go ahead. But if you can't, and you can't provide the services that people rely on, then you need to worry about security.
Yeah. It always amazes me that arguably one of the most important non-human things in your business is your technology. And yet oftentimes it gets the least amount of love and care.
Yeah. And it's, we'll put it off. Mm-hmm. And if you did more a little bit at a time, you wouldn't be having to have those big checks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And here's perfect example is what we know is going to happen at the end of 2025. What's going to happen in October 2025? Well, let's say August, September, and October. What are we going to have happening at that time, which we have talked about on this podcast since 2023?
Yeah, there's going to be a mass effort to try to purchase new computers because Windows 10 hits end of life. Everybody's going to be trying to upgrade to Windows 11 or buy new computers. All that's going to be happening all at one time. And you got MSPs like us. I'm not the only one here. Once Windows 10 hits end of life, we'll continue to support it, but we're going to support it at a higher price. It's not going to be covered under your normal support plan because you should have removed it by now. Mm-hmm. And now it's becoming more and more vulnerable every single day. Even though we've got security on there, there's no more fixes, patches coming out for this thing to secure it. So it's a liability every single day that it stays there.
And there's no way of knowing when that's going to blow up in your face.
All right.
So we've known this is coming, and you've got 100 of those, and we've been talking about it all this time. If you had been replacing those, and I'm a big fan of, in a business, especially a small business, if I have an old computer on somebody's desk, mm-hmm. and it's just, dying.
All right.
But I need somebody that's a power user needs a new device. So many people will get the power user a new device, but they won't do the hand-me-down thing. Mm-hmm. And what you want to do is the hand-me-down thing. So that I get the good device for my power users, and then I take my power user's device that's a couple of years old, and I hand it down. You wipe it. It's all copacetic. You just wipe it and start over, And if you've got a Windows 11 computer, which has been around now, I don't know, a while. When did they come out with Windows 11? It wasn't 2011, right? It was.
No. Gosh, I don't know. We're talking probably 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah. So, and Microsoft publishes this years out, years and years. You know this. It's not like they just popped up and all of a sudden said, we're not going to support it anymore. And that's the scenario we're in. And we know a ton of these smaller practices have those devices. Every now and then you run into some, let's just say older than that. Because the medical device requires it. Well, you've got to be securing that out the wazoo.
So Windows 11 was released October of 21. Wow.
Okay. So it's been around a bit.
It's almost time for Windows 12.
I know. So this is the kind of thing that we're talking about. If you have those devices and you're not already working a plan to replace them, then, start now. Because guess what? When everybody else is running to get the devices, do you think the price is going to go down? And to get the devices, get them configured, get them installed, and you're not bothered at all when that happens. You're just cruising right on through when people start having issues. Oh, we can't get this. And, a hurricane hits an area where we make hard drives. Boom. We can't, turn machines around quickly. So these are the kind of things that you're setting yourself up for.
Yep. Yeah. Better get it done now.
And not having a plan, you don't have a plan, you don't have a response time, you don't know. So you got less security. Even though it's less complex, it's less secured. And by being less complex means it's easier for them to get around and take more because there's nothing there to stop them. And the response time is, they could be in there for months.
Oh, yeah.
So you see these things happening and you're just creating the perfect storm and waiting. And I get it. I understand. But just say, I'm not going to make this a priority. Just be honest, because that's what it is.
Yeah. It's not important to me.
Yeah. And I mean, if people ask me, well, what if the business owner doesn't want to? Okay, you get them to say out loud, this is not important to me, and I will not make it a priority.
Yeah.
And let them hear themselves.
Yeah. But let's say it for what it is. Patient safety is not important to me.
Okay. Yeah. And many of them may look that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not evaluating the risk that they face. And it's huge. And that's what I said to these folks is you need to worry about your business not being able to operate anymore. You need to worry about not having the ability to care for patients who then sue you. This is not a compliance discussion. This is a real world, let me tell you how bad your life will be that has nothing to do with HIPAA.
Right. Yeah. This is simply risk management. Like no different than somebody slips and falls in your waiting room because you had crap laying all over the place. You do everything you can to remove risks to your patients, to your practice, to your employees. This is the same thing. And if you don't remove those risks, you are liable.
Maybe we ought to go in and start doing that. We just go in and put mops and buckets and banana peels, fill up the lobby, fill up the waiting room. Okay, this is the way you're operating your technology. We just wanted to give you a visual.
Yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, well, we would think it's funny, but I don't know that everybody else would.
Well, I think one place to kind of start with all this is really people understanding, just get back to the basics. I know a lot of stuff has been coming out, especially over the past couple of years. You hear AI this, AI that. There's all kind of new technologies popping up all the time. But it really is let's just go back and talk about cyber hygiene. Let's talk about the basics, Because if you can just do that, you've covered 80% of the ground.
Mm-hmm. And just focus on, okay, if you're not going to focus on a long list of things and passwords and all of that other stuff, focus on 3 things. 3 things. That's it. Patching.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about it all the time. And, you know, if you're security, you got security in place, but your systems look like Swiss cheese, there's nothing stopping them.
Yeah.
Because a patch is to actually cover up a hole that got punched in it by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
The unfortunate thing is when it comes to these things, somebody around on the other side of the world can punch a hole in something and it punches it all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that has that thing now has that hole. And that, I think people don't get that. So if you focus on patching everything, not just your Windows computers, your mobile devices, your network devices, all of those need to be patched.
Yeah.
Focus.
And I would say too, to kind of attach on to that, is make sure you keep any device as clean as you can keep it. That's the fewer programs and apps you have on these devices, the fewer things have to be patched. So just get rid of it.
And the fewer things break.
Yeah. So my thing is, if I've got a piece of software, whether it's on my phone or my computer, if it's something I use, twice a year, then guess what? I uninstall it and I'll reinstall it when I need it. And I understand it takes a whole 60 seconds to do that. But even if it took 5 minutes, it still doesn't matter because I don't have to constantly patch that piece of software, or what's probably more likely to happen is it's going to be out of patch and I don't even realize it until I go to run it again. And then it goes, oh, by the way, you're on version 10 and version 20 is out. And you're like, whoa, I missed 10 different updates. Yeah.
That's why I use the feature that says if I'm not using the app, offload it. Because when I do want it, it will download a new version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that feature. The ones I'm using all the time, they're going to stay up to date and I'm going to know about them. And the ones I don't and I only need occasionally, it automatically offloads it for me.
Yeah. You're talking about on your phone though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Can't do that on the computer, but on the phone, yes.
Yeah, mine will do that. I'll go to use an app I hadn't used in a while, and it's like app's disabled. I'm like, what's going on here?
You got to download that again. Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
I got you.
But that doesn't happen on PCs.
No,
for sure.
Unfortunately.
And people download things all the time to computers, and they don't take it off. And we find multiple versions of things that have been on there for years. People just don't take care of them. They don't keep them clean.
You got to do your digital spring and fall cleaning.
Yep. That's a matter of fact. That's a good reminder because that's coming up shortly, spring. So we'll talk about some spring cleaning for your devices. So
patching, that's a good one. Have fewer things to patch and patch the ones you have. Multi-factor authentication, every single place you can do it.
Yep.
Have
you started using passkeys? Because I'm loving them.
I'm
loving them.
Yeah. But trying to get them all, aligned and everywhere. But so for people that don't know, there's a couple of different ways you could do it. There's the FIDO where you have the thing you carry around. You actually have a physical little Bluetooth connected or whatever. And when it is near, then that's the second one. But the other is it just pops up, an app on your phone pops up and says, hey, is that you wanting in? Yes. That's it. I'm done. No entering complicated codes. None of that.
The password manager that we use, it stores the pass key in it. So as long as you're logged in, authenticated with the password manager, there's nothing to do. Like it just right on through.
Nice.
I mean, I was like, wow, this is nice.
So it is a great way to manage passwords. We're getting to passwordless. one tiny little app at a time.
Yeah.
Now, but find a way to MFA on every single thing.
I like it. Find a way to MFA.
Yeah. And then this is a big one. Understand your supply chain risk. And this one, for you, the work is not that intensive. It is making sure you're asking your vendors, you're not just counting on them to do stuff.
Yeah. This is where it drives me crazy when somebody's like, well, let's just take IT vendors since I'm one. I'll pick on myself. We use so-and-so IT vendor and they have dozens of healthcare clients. I'm sure they're fine. Or that's all they do is dental. I'm sure they're fine. Whatever. Fill in the blank. There is no, I'm sure they're fine.
Yeah. It's like assuming that, every person at their company will never make a mistake. Assuming that the people that were focused on security are still in that job.
Yeah. Or you could have vetted this vendor 2 years ago, but what's changed since then?
Oh, and I've seen that happen where they're pristine, awesome, great. They're doing all the stuff, but they get acquired.
Oh, yeah.
And the next year, nobody cares. It's not a priority. And I've seen it happen the other way too. Suddenly they do care. So you have to ask all the time, are you guys taking care? And don't just say, sure.
Show me the money.
I expect, I can prove it.
Right.
Go ahead.
Show me some proof.
Yeah.
Show me some proof.
And we need to work. And that was a big thing in the NPRM. There's a reason it's in there. The implementation, I'm not sure about, but create something where I, as the vendor, get to tell you, and that, here's what I've done and blah, blah, blah. And it's not necessarily requiring some huge certification program that costs $100,000 a year for the vendor, because that's going to put a lot of small vendors out of business.
Well, not only that, but if you pass that cost on to the clients, that's what will happen.
Yeah.
You can't get them to do it now. So doing things to drive up cost. I mean, we're constantly worrying about that in the IT field because, the cost of what I provide today versus 5 years ago is astronomically more.
Yeah.
But I'm having to oftentimes eat a lot of this because I can't really go to my client and go, oh, by the way, you're going to have an 80% increase in cost.
Yeah, because that's what happened to me. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, oh, how in the world am I going to be able to absorb this? And I have to go up on them some, but I can't go up on them this amount. I'll lose all my customers. And, by the way, here's the 15 other different security platforms that everybody says we need. I don't know that we need any of them. Maybe we need all of them, but I can't afford all of them because that would drive the price up even more.
And then the people who are there monitoring things and handling the problems, they're not cheap. If they're good at what they do, you got to pay them.
Yeah, because I can put the software on there, but if nobody's looking at it, I'm not sure it's, that good.
Yeah, well, we have a problem with that, don't we?
Yeah. So we pay additional to have highly qualified people keeping their eyes on that stuff. And then, you have people that come around and go, why is IT so expensive? How can we cut our costs down? And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, do you know what you're getting? Like I'm bringing $500,000 a year worth of value to you and you're paying $10,000 a year. There's no way you can hire. Yeah, you can't even hire one of these people, but I'm giving you the entire staff at your disposal. I don't get it. But anyway.
Yeah.
That's a soapbox for another day.
Hey, I remember when somebody told me they didn't want to have to pay me because I had to look at the manual. I was like, do you realize how many of these manuals exist? You think I'm going to carry this around in my head? And that was before it's as complicated as it is today. Yeah. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me.
How many doctors do you think walk out of rooms and pull things up and then come back in and tell you, you know, what they think it is or whatever. I mean,
Yeah, you got to do that. And it was, you know, anyway, it was an accountant. We'll just
well.
leave it at that. You know, we've had that conversation.
Well, I'm sure accountants, you know, they have to go and look up stuff too.
Yeah.
That's just, I mean, it's the nature of any business that's complex. So
Yeah. But I wasn't supposed to be able to do that.
I
Anyway,
guess.
so we know it's complex topic, but we have to find a way to break through because, you know, it's like we talked about over and over. The bad guys are enjoying the fact that we don't have our crap together.
Mm-hmm.
See there, I didn't mess up. So, to recap, if you're a healthcare entity, you need to assume you're a target and you have kick me on your back.
Yeah. This is the only time you can assume.
I know, it's there. And you're just waiting to see who's going to come by and see you that's willing to kick you. And if you would just do these basic things that we talked about,
Yeah.
and particularly if you just focus on making sure you're doing patching properly and MFA everywhere you can, it's a night and day difference as far as the risk level.
Yeah. I mean, that's not all you should do, but that goes a long way. And it's also interesting to note, or we should note for sure, when we say basic security, we're not talking about the basic security of 2020.
No.
Like, it changes rapidly. And what we consider basic today was not basic a year ago.
Yeah.
So just understand that.
That I think is really hard for people to grasp as well. That
It's hard.
Yeah. And as it gets easier for the actors, the bad actors, to do their thing, because it is getting easier for them. And you were already easy.
Yeah.
And so the tools they need to take advantage of you, it's getting easier for them to acquire and use. And then you're doing nothing different and you were already easy to attack. So you're just like last week, I think it was, or week before, where we were like bare minimum is not a security strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're too small is not a security strategy too.
No.
So
No. You might as well say we don't care is your security strategy.
yeah, this does not matter to me. And
Yep.
this is not a priority. I don't care. That is what you're essentially saying. Don't say we're too small. That's just stop. Just stop if you're, oh, well, we're just going to worry about compliance. No, what you're saying is you don't care. So, and just to make it real, when we were getting ready to do the episode, a whole nother one came out. U.S. healthcare provider data breach impacts 1 million patients. Yeah. But it's supposedly ransomware. But no, supposedly not ransomware. It seems it's one of those where they've stolen the data. And some of these gangs, they're starting to track that if they hit healthcare, they just steal the data. So it's in between. But if your data's stolen, your patients are at risk. Whether you want to believe it or not, it is true. So they're going to ask you why wasn't it a priority. Be prepared.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Because my thing is this, if you are comfortable sitting in court, defending yourself with the information that you have, then keep doing what you're doing.
I don't know. We talked about that court case where the guy just dug in on his lie.
Yeah. And it didn't work out too well for him. So,
No, it didn't eventually.
I mean, that's the thing about it is, you know, everything that we do for people is to make you, not just to defend you in a cyber world, but to make you defensible in a litigation world.
Yeah, there you go, David. There you go. That's the ticket.
All right. Said my piece. I'm out.
All right.
Okay, folks, that is our show for today. Thanks for listening. Be sure to share this out and join us again next week. For Donna and myself, remember that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.